All right, so today we're going to look at our place value chart, numbers shown in there, and we're going to learn how to write them using base 10 numerals, number names, and expanded forms. So different ways to show the same number. So right here we have a 1 in the thousands place, a 7 in the hundreds place, a 0 in the tens place, and an 8 in the ones place. Now we're just going to talk about the values of those digits. So here we have a 1 in the thousands place. The value of that 1 is 1,000. We have a 7 in the hundreds place. The value of that 7 is 700. We have a 0 in the tens place that has a value of 0 or nothing. And we have an 8 in the ones place, and that has a value of 8. So to write this in base 10 numerals, so digits from 0 to 9, to write this in base 10 numerals, it would show 1,708. Not and 8. And implies that there's a decimal in there. We have no decimal. It's 1,708. Now in number names, we are going to write it just the way we say it. 1,708. So we take, and we're writing words this time, 1,000 700 oops 8. Now for expanded form, we go back up to what we have right here. And we are going to use these three numbers in our expanded form. So expanded form means you take the value of each digit and you inflate it kind of like a balloon. So the value of that 1 was 1,000. Then we added a 700 because the value of that 7 was 700. Now we don't need to show plus 0 tens, and we'll jump into that in a second. And then we added 8 ones. And that gave us a total of 1,708. Let's go on to the next one. So here we have the same setup, but a larger number. This time we have 27,085. So we go and we write the value of these digits in the place value below. So the value of that 2 is not just a 2, it's a 20,000. The value of that 7 is not just a 7, it's a 7,000. There's no hundreds. Now, the reason that we do not need to show or have a term that represents the hundreds is because 0 stands for nothing. 0 added to doesn't change the value of the number at all. So think about how you say this number. You don't say 27,085, or if you looked at the first one, you didn't have 1,700 0 to 10 or 0 to 8. You just skip over that. And that's the same when you're looking at place values. The 0 comes into play when you write it as a base 10 numeral. We'll go with that in the next slide. The value of the 8 is 80. Oops. And the value of the 5 is just 5. Now, when we go to write it in base 10 numerals, this is where you need that 0, because otherwise you're going to write a number that looks like 2785. And what you told me is that 2,785 is the same as or equal to 27,085. That's not true. So this, your 0 needs to be added in. You need to represent, in your base 10 numerals, you need to represent that there are 0 hundreds, 8 tens, and 5 ones. So your comma goes in the right place. Number names, this is where this and expanded form, these are where the zeros are not needed. Number names, you write it just the way you say it. 27,085. 27,000 85. And in expanded form, you take the values that you had written below each place value. You take these values and you add them together. You take a 20,000 plus a 7,000. And you could write plus 0, although it's not going to change your value, so you can skip over that 0. Plus an 80 plus a 5. And there it is in expanded form. Final one. This time, we have a 270,850. So we go, the value of this 2 is 200,000. The value of that 7 is 70,000. The value of that 0 is not 0 to 1,000, it's just 0. The value of that 8 is 800. The value of that 5 is 50. And the value of this 0 is 0. When we go to write it in a base 10 numeral, you need to put those zeros in there. Otherwise, you're going to tell me that 270,850 is the same as 2,785. And that is not true. So the zeros are necessary in the base 10 numeral. And the base 10 numeral is just the way you are familiar with numbers. 270,850. See, we have the zeros in there so that when you write it as a base 10 numeral, you know what number you're writing. You know the value of that number. Now on to number names. Number names is just the way you say that number. So 200. 70,000. 800. 50. We didn't have to put 270,850 ones. We say this number, 270,850. Expanded form. Now there is nothing wrong with, well, okay, the value of that first 2 was 200,000. Then we added a 70,000. And there is nothing wrong with saying plus 0. However, it's just a massive waste of time. But let's add it in there. Plus 0 plus 800 plus 50. And then again, there's nothing wrong with putting plus 0. but it doesn't change the value. So the proper way to write expanded form, go ahead and cross this out one big line in there because we don't want our zeros. The proper way to write expanded form is 200,000 plus 70,000 plus 800 plus 50. And that's today's lesson.